Imagine waking up tomorrow and every book, every website, every piece of human knowledge is simply gone. No history, no science, no medicine, just silence where memory used to be. That's not a nightmare. That actually happened once, and we're still trying to recover from it. Somewhere beneath the modern streets of Alexandria, Egypt, archaeologists believe fragments of the greatest library ever built are still buried in the earth. A library so powerful that kings went to war to protect its secrets. A library that may have held the key to inventions we haven't even rediscovered yet. And then it vanished, not overnight, not in one dramatic fire, like the myths love to tell you. The truth is slower, stranger, and far more disturbing. Let's go back to the beginning. The birth of an obsession. Around 300 BC, Alexandria wasn't just a city, it was an obsession. Founded by Alexander the Great and ruled after his death by his general Ptolemy, Alexandria was built to become the intellectual capital of the entire world. Ptolemy had one ambition: collect every piece of knowledge that existed, every scroll, every language, every idea humans had ever dared to write down. So he built the Library of Alexandria, not just a building, a machine designed to consume the world's information, and the methods they used were almost frightening. Every ship that docked in Alexandria's harbor was searched, not for weapons, not for gold, but for books. If a scroll was found on board, it was confiscated, copied by royal scribes, and only the copy was handed back to its owner. The original stayed in the library forever. They called these seized texts the ship's books. Sailors learned to dread them. Kings across the Mediterranean were begged, bribed, and tricked into lending priceless manuscripts. According to ancient accounts, Athens once handed over the original works of Sophocles and Euripides as collateral for a massive loan. Alexandria kept the originals and simply forfeited the deposit. They preferred losing the money over losing the knowledge. The greatest minds. Alive. At its peak, historians estimate the library held somewhere between 400,000 and 700,000 scrolls. To put that into perspective, that could represent nearly the entire surviving literature of the ancient world gathered under one roof. But the scrolls weren't the real treasure, the minds inside were. Alexandria pulled in the greatest thinkers alive. Euclid laid the foundations of geometry still taught in classrooms today. Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth using nothing but shadows and simple math, and he landed remarkably close to the real number over 2,000 years before satellites existed. Herophilus dissected the human body to understand how it truly worked, laying groundwork for modern anatomy. The chief librarian Callimachus even built something the world had never seen: a catalog of every scroll in the collection, organized by subject and author. Historians consider it the ancestor of the library systems we still use today. Some researchers have speculated that experiments in Alexandria hinted at early mechanical devices and rudimentary automation centuries ahead of their time. This part remains debated among historians, but if even a fragment of it is true, humanity may have brushed against the future and then lost the map completely. Because something was about to go terribly wrong. The slow death. Most people believe the library burned in one catastrophic fire, destroyed in a single dramatic night. It makes a great movie. But most historians today reject that version. The truth is far more tragic. The Library of Alexandria didn't die in one moment. It bled out over centuries. In 48 BC, Julius Caesar's forces likely set fire to ships in the harbor during a military conflict, and the flames may have spread to warehouses storing scrolls near the docks. A partial, accidental blow, not a final one. Then came something quieter and in some ways crueler: neglect. Funding dried up, scholars scattered. War shook the region again and again. Later, rising religious and political tensions in the Roman era led to the destruction of the Serapeum, a daughter library housed within a temple, believed lost around 391 AD amid conflict between pagan and Christian authorities. There's also a popular legend that Arab forces burned the last remaining scrolls in 642 AD. Most historians now consider this story to be later propaganda, not verified fact. It's a myth worth knowing, but not one worth believing. The real killer wasn't fire, it was time, war, indifference. The slow erasure that happens when a civilization quietly stops protecting what it once valued most. And that might be the most terrifying part of this entire story. What we lost forever. So what did we actually lose? We'll never fully know. That's the tragedy of it. We only know what survived by accident, quoted inside other texts, referenced by later scholars centuries afterward. Entire branches of mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and literature may have vanished with zero trace they ever existed at all. Somewhere on a single scroll there may have been a cure, a formula, an idea that only ever existed in one copy, in one room, in one city. And when that city burned, so did the only proof it ever happened. Now imagine, just for a moment, what if none of it had burned? The world that never was. What if the Library of Alexandria had survived intact for 2,000 more years? Some historians speculate humanity could have leapt forward centuries sooner. Earlier medicine, earlier astronomy. Perhaps fewer dark ages spent relearning what had already been discovered once before in scrolls that turned to ash. We will never know if that world was truly possible. But the thought alone is haunting, and it should be. Today, nothing physical remains of the original library. No walls, no shelves, no scrolls. Just ruins buried beneath a modern city, and a name that still sends a chill through historians. In 2002, Egypt built a new library in Alexandria, the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, as a tribute, almost an apology, to what the world once lost. But it can never replace what vanished. The warning. Because the real tragedy of Alexandria was never just about scrolls or buildings or fire, it's a warning. Knowledge is fragile. A civilization can build the greatest achievement imaginable and lose it in the span of a few generations simply by failing to protect it. Somewhere, right now, we might be repeating that exact same mistake without even realizing it. So the next time you close a book, save a file, or scroll past information without a second thought, remember Alexandria.